And so we continued working on it. And in 2007, we went to a conference called South by Southwest in Austin, Texas. And this is a conference, but it's also just a huge party. Kind of like what's going on here, I think. There were enough people by that time using Twitter, mostly kind of early adopter, geeky type folks, and those are the type of folks that go to the first part of this conference anyway, which is the interactive part. And there were enough people on the service that we started to notice some pretty interesting things. For example, during the conference, we would see entire groups of people moving from one venue, all getting up and leaving and going to another venue. And people at the conferences, we've never seen this before, what's going on? And it's because they were all twittering that this one's boring, and we hear that the other one's better. And they were just moving. And it was amazing to see. And then that night, one experience that I heard a friend tell me about was that he was at a pub, and the pub was really loud, it was crowded, and he really wanted to have more conversations with his friends. So he sent out a simple tweet that said, I'm moving to this other pub, and he named it, and where it's less quiet and we can talk. And in the 10 minutes it took to walk to that pub, it had completely filled the capacity. People were waiting outside. And so his plan totally backfired. It was a bad idea. But what happened was our eyes were really open to the fact that now what we had created was this new form of group communication where people can move together as one. And the analogy comes to mind of a flock of birds moving around an object in flight. It looks so choreographed, it looks so beautiful, it looks so practiced, but it's really just rudimentary communication among individuals in real time that allows them to perform this procedure. And we saw sort of for the first time that this was happening. And that opened our eyes a lot, and Twitter at that festival had really energized it. Then the following year, we noticed something else that was really amazing, and that was a story I like to tell about a photojournalism student named James Buck, who was a student at UC Berkeley in Northern California. And he wanted to photograph activism in Egypt, and he kept missing the protests by about an hour or two. And he asked his friends in Egypt, how do you guys know how to coordinate and where to meet up and how to do these protests? And they said, oh, we're using this great thing. It's called Twitter. It's like a free newswire. You should sign up. And what was funny to us is that he learned about it in Egypt rather than the Bay Area, which is where everyone... Cairo! So, of course, he was totally plugged in, and he made it to the protest. He got these great photos. And then he told us another funny story, and that's that most police officers, according to him, have mustaches in Egypt. And you can tell when something's up when you start seeing a lot of mustaches all around you. And he was like, wait a minute, mustache, 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 thrown in the back of a car, arrested, and they didn't take away his mobile. And so the first thing he thought was, I'll just send it a Twitter. And he sent a one-word Twitter, and the word was arrested. Now, the folks following him back home had been following him, knew what the situation he was in, and they were able to call the dean called the lawyer called the consulate, and within a few hours he sent out another one-word tweet, which was freed. So, and that was a story that opened our eyes, thinking this is something that can be used globally, and it can be used for more than just finding the best party to go to. Carpet that I just did not want to discover. And my phone buzzed in my pocket, and I picked it up, and it was Evan. And he said, sipping Pinot Noir after a massage in Napa Valley. And I just was like, what? I kind of laughed, and I couldn't believe that I knew that he was doing that at this time when I was having this horrible time. And I loved knowing that. And however trivial it may have been, I loved having that connection with him. And when I went back to work, it turns out everyone had a similar experience, and we knew we were onto something that at the very least was going to be a rudimentary communication system, almost like a social networking, but very, very, very simple.